All right. Well, welcome to a long absence from doing webinars. My name is Keith Griffin. You can find me at thisadhdlife.com, or if you want some other links, the whole link in bio thing, thisadhd.life/m/links. So the first thing I like to do with any of my presentations is just to take a second to acknowledge the transition. You're coming from something. Even if you're watching this video on YouTube as a replay a few days later, let's just quickly say, hey, okay, what are we doing right now? What were we just doing? Do we want to focus back in on what I'm actually watching right now? Okay, acknowledge the transition. And just a note, the meeting is in focus mode. So this is for the Zoom folks only, but all the cameras are turned off, all the mics are muted. There's going to be a Q&A for the people attending live at the end of this. If you're on YouTube, post a comment down below and I will try to get to it. And be sure to visit my website so you can get invited to the next monthly Q&A. So, format, what is a focused Q&A? Well, there's going to be sort of a foundation, some housekeeping, such as what is the format. Then I'm going to be doing a brief presentation. I'm guessing 15 to 20 minutes. There's a secret at the end, and you'll understand why I don't know exactly how long. But there's going to be some implementation steps as well. I might edit those out of the YouTube because no one's going to want to sit around and just like stare at the screen for 2 minutes. And then afterwards, for the folks that are live, I'm going to be doing a Q&A about the topic or any topic you want to talk about ADHD or even life coaching. I am a professional life coach, so I am happy to help. Just right up front, I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional. I'm not a therapist. I am a life coach. So if your question relates to medication or specific illnesses, you may be better off consulting your medical professional. And of course, don't take anything of what I'm about to say as professional medical advice. And as I noted, there is going to be a recording sort of at the end of this week, I think is when I will post it. You can subscribe to my YouTube, This ADHD Life on YouTube. So with that, welcome. My name is Keith Griffin. I mentioned that I'm a doubly certified ADHD life coach. What that means is I'm a life coach at core with a specialty in ADHD, and I'm starting to branch out into complex ADHD that is ADHD with comorbidities such as autism or depression, anxiety, or any fun combination thereof. I myself was diagnosed back in my early 40s. That is 9 years ago at this point. And by the way, if you see me looking over here, there is a chat open. I might just look over there every once in a while, but I am going to pick up my trusty fidget spinner to try to avoid that temptation. I came to ADHD coaching after a 20 plus year IT career. Spoiler alert, I burned out. Then I learned I had ADHD. Recently, I have moved back to Atlanta. I spent a good year and 3 months on the road and traveled the country trying to figure out where I wanted to live. And I realized it's back in Atlanta. So that's where I am as of January of this year. I'm also renewing my channel and a content creator. I've actually published 3 newsletters this month. I'm going to be publishing a 4th at the end of this week, which I guess technically is March, but that's fine. Trying to get YouTube active again. I've been most active on Instagram Reels because it's so easy. I'm thinking about TikTok, but it's just so addictive. And if you notice the title of this presentation, From ADHD to ADHD, I coined the term ADHD. And if you put that hashtag in a web browser, in a Google search, you will probably find a lot of my content. My intention is to have it be one of those hashtags that really takes off. And hopefully throughout tonight, you'll understand why. So tonight, I would like to inspire some thought and possibility. I'd like you to walk away with curiosity. And these slides are a guideline for the session. I always use slides just as a guideline for my presentations because my brain is pretty good at coming up with stuff on the fly. Let's have a few ground rules. I think I need to change the word rules. Have a pad of paper ready and of course a pencil. Again, note what sparks curiosity and discard the rest. Not all advice on the internet applies to you specifically. Yet so many ADHDers, especially when they're first diagnosed, think they need to do all the things. And then they come to me for coaching and we kind of assess what's needed and what's not. I encourage you to resist the desire to label. Nothing to be seen as right or wrong. Might be right or wrong for you, but some of this information will be helpful to everybody, parts of it to some people, and parts of it might not be helpful to you at all. And as always, and I say always, if you get my newsletter, there's a thing. You got to pardon my lack of perfection. The only way that I can get anything done in life is to have a post on my website that says, please pardon the lack of perfection. So, from ADHD to ADHD, what is required? I say there's a 3-step process, or maybe 3 ingredients. Oh, by the way, one last ground rule. I have ADHD. My eyes might focus all over the place, and that's okay. I once received feedback that says you should really just look at the camera. Yeah, sure. That's really uncomfortable for me. So hopefully you'll understand if you're watching this that I might be just glaring around. Oh, and one last thing, I looked at the camera. I have a sty in my eye. I've been applying heat to it. So I could have canceled, but nope, we're going forward with it. All right, so requirements. So the first thing is to amplify strengths. If you're new to ADHD, you may be feeling like you have 0 strengths. That is absolute BS. It's untrue. You're a human being. Every human has strengths. Every dog has strengths. Every dog has weaknesses. As a human, you also have weaknesses. Second key, minimize your weaknesses. And what I mean by that is to minimize the things that you're doing from your weakest place. We'll get into that in a few slides. And approach everything with humor, or at least approach your ADHD with humor. I use humor as a coping mechanism, and I don't say coping mechanism in an unhealthy way. I'm just a humorful guy. I grew up in a household full of humor. I watch comedy shows and comedy movies. And so anytime something happens that'll frustrate me, especially about myself, I try to find the humor in the situation. So let's talk about amplifying strengths. Oh, by the way, I might also speak fast. A lot of ADHDers understand that and appreciate that. All right, so first step, if you ask me, and I encourage my clients to do this when we first start, is to go to a website called viacharacter.org to learn about, I think it's 24 different strengths and where you rank. Now, as ADHDers, our impulse is to go, oh, well, the bottom 14 I just suck at, so I need to improve those. No, not in the coaching world, and I'm not encouraging you to do that. What I'm going to encourage you to do is to work from the top 7 strengths. More on that on the next slide. But to get started, you got to go to viacharacter.org, completely free. It'll ask you to do an assessment. Get your fidget spinner because it's a few questions, and it will send you a report with your strengths ranked. And so, for example, one of my strengths is love of learning, and another one is fairness. Those are in my top 7 strengths. You'll get your own. So work from the top 6 to 7 of your strengths. I think I just said that, but it is important. So if I look at this presentation, I love to learn stuff, right? So I've been thinking about this presentation for weeks. I've been doing some research, and I also am a very fairness-oriented guy. And recently I've realized that I want to be able to serve more people than can afford my one-on-one coaching rates, or that I could coach one-on-one. There is a limit to number of people that I can coach on a weekly basis. And in fairness, I'm offering some free stuff. I'm also going to be offering some lower priced stuff in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that. Get creative when pairing your strengths. I think I may have jumped the gun on this, but if I looked at what I just said, I'm pairing fairness and love of learning to make this presentation a thing. I very much want to deliver the content to you. I had to do some learning. I had to do some thinking. And by the way, some of that learning was done just in this noggin because as an ADHDer, I know things that I shouldn't know. There's no reason for me to actually know what a tie rod is at this point in my life. I still know it, and maybe that'll come up in a future presentation. So I allowed myself to learn from myself and examine what I've learned. Most importantly, you have to acknowledge wins, victories, and gratitudes daily. If you're going to get from a place of, oh, ADHD too, yeah, ADHD, you have to acknowledge what you're good at. You have to acknowledge what you did today. You have to acknowledge the things that have happened to you in a good way, things for which you are grateful. Now, not everything has to be a victory. So I could say at the end of today, this is a victory. I'm doing a webinar. I got a sty in my eye. There's a secret at the end, and you'll be surprised, or maybe not. Comment below if you're watching on YouTube, or in the chat if you're on Zoom. You will find that some of the things can be just, oh, well, I didn't screw up my checking account today. Or, oh, at least I got my dog walked a couple times today. They don't have to be huge victories. They can be just acknowledgments of things that you're not necessarily messing up. So that leads into need to start small. What's going well? So for me, I'm generally pretty good with finances. A hyper fixation of mine is money. It has been since 19. I can't say I hate money. I hate the concept of money. I'm not one of those people that wants to be $1 million coach. I mean, it would be lovely if it happened, but that's not what I seek. What fascinates me is being able to allocate my money and watch what it does for me and focus it on different uses. And I've been budgeting since I was 19. And as I said before, if you can't even pull out one victory, I'm just going to say it. What are you not fucking up? Right? What's something you didn't screw up today? And I can tell you for me, well, I got Daisy out twice, and I'll get her out again. Didn't screw that up. I fed myself 2 of 3 meals. I'm actually going to have dinner after this, which is a little late, but you know what? It's not a screw up. If you can't acknowledge a victory and you don't have any gratitude, you don't feel like you've won, you can at least go down to what did I not screw up today? Or what am I not screwing up this week? Maybe you're a great parent. I'm a great parent. At least I'm not screwing that up. All right, so the quick implementation, there's a timer on the screen. I'd love you to take just 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or 2 minutes and 10 seconds by the time I finish talking, to rate 3 things that went well today, 2 things that wouldn't have happened if you were not in this world today, and 1 thing you really enjoyed today. And I'll be back with you in just about 2 minutes. I mean, you're still going to see me, but go write this down. All right, time is up. And that makes me just want a box. So I hope you got your list. If you're live on Zoom, feel free to share it with your participants in the chat, and I'll take a look at it later. If you're on YouTube, you want to pop it into the comments, that's fine as well. You just want to send me an email, just shoot it over to info@thisadhdlife.com. Move it on. So what do I mean when I say minimize weaknesses? Well, first off, choose carefully. Like if you know you're weak at doing chores, choose your standards of chores carefully. You're probably not going to vacuum every single day if that's something you just don't really like doing. You got to minimize the weaknesses. You have to choose your standards. Negotiate, barter, and purchase. So what I mean by this is if you're in a partnership, if you're in a couple, if you're married, have a girlfriend, boyfriend, you might be able to negotiate your chores with them. Hey, hun, you're better at vacuuming and I'm better at cleaning the bathrooms. And so we're going to kind of negotiate what we do. Or you can barter services. I'm going to be bartering some services with a social media person. So they're going to get some of my coaching. I'm going to get some of their social media marketing stuff, which is something I just dislike. That's a barter. Or you could just purchase. So another thing that I'm going to be doing is getting this beautiful apartment that I recently acquired cleaned every month professionally. Yeah, I'm literally just saying that out loud, and I think you just became an accountability partner. But I don't love cleaning. I'm decent at it, but it is boring AF. So you can always purchase your way out of things. Minimizing life's BS. That is the strategy, right? So I have a famous metaphor. And when I say famous, I mean people who've listened to a podcast I used to do have heard it, that you need to minimize the BS because folks without ADHD and neurotypical brothers have this giant, like California sized closet full that they can just pack all the BS, right? And I posit that those of us with ADHD and other neurodivergencies have like a broom closet, right? So one of my famous things is that I generally don't drive the speed limit. Now I'm in Atlanta, no one drives the speed limit, so that's pretty okay. But what I say is that allows me to not snatch the phone out of the rude person's hand when they're in front of me in line at Publix or Kroger or the grocery store, right? I'm just weak at not saying something to rude people. So in order for me to not get into a lot of fights, I'm okay with going a few miles over the speed limit. Learn about your strong times. So every single one of us has stronger times and weaker times. I am best at cleaning stuff in the mornings. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I walk Daisy and then I come back every day. My kitchen's over there and I go and clean up from the night before and get everything looking really good. If I need to clean the toilet, it's going to be the morning. I'm not going to try to clean my house in the middle of the day. Why? Because my strongest time for coaching is in the middle of the day. I'm not going to do it at night. Why? Because I collapse at night. I need to recharge. I need energy. Sure, I could go through the motions of cleaning, but I would be doing it through gritted teeth. So I'm trying to put things that I truly dread, choose them carefully. Notice I'm not saying do all of the things you dread during your strong times. I'm saying choose carefully, limit the BS, choose the things that you have to do, and then learn about your strong times so that you can do those things during your strong times. Do your weakest things at strong times. I should have hit the space bar. I knew where I was going with this. It's almost like I wrote this presentation. Surprise, we have another quick implementation, and this time I won't hit the space bar until I tell you what I'm asking you to do. So couple minutes to write down the following items. And again, you can share them in Zoom chat, in the comments, info at This ADHD Life. Couple minutes, few items each of things you do that aren't necessary, right? I worked with a client once that emptied their bathroom trash every single time it was trash day, even if there was only a Kleenex. That's not necessary. Activities you may be able to trade with partner, friend, family member, etc. Again, if you're stronger at cleaning the toilets and he's stronger at vacuuming, let's do something about that. Let's see if you guys can each have sort of your own domain. And if both of you suck at it, maybe you eat out a couple times less a month and you hire a maid, you hire a cleaning service. Or if you also are bad at cooking, and maybe you don't eat out a couple times a month and instead you get something that is delivered in, like a home chef, or of course, all of them are escaping my mind, but you know what I'm talking about, Factor or whatnot. And then lastly, if you would just write down an estimate of your stronger times. I'm going to use humor, spoiler alert, but we're going to go with the timer, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So let's move on to the next slide, which is humor. You may have just noticed me using a bit of humor there. Of course, I lost track of time. I was literally staring at the timer and I get into my own head because I'm not talking and just didn't even notice 30 seconds were about to elapse. Of course I did that. Why? Because you ADHD. Yeah, I really could have predicted this would have happened. Maybe I should have had like a 30-second timer on my watch. Oh well. Oh yeah, that happened because, and I do this all the time. Um, and the two and three here are I do it all the time where I tend to take Saturdays off. It's my biggest recharging day. It's like I'm on the slow charger. I don't do much socially. I tend to have meals that are prepared or leftovers or whatnot. I don't do chores that day. Yet sometimes, some weekends, I got to maintain a social commitment. I can't ask the bride to change her wedding because I don't want to be there on a Saturday. So I sometimes then go on to a Tuesday and I'm like, God, I just don't feel like working today. What? Oh, right. You didn't get any recharge time on Saturday, really. And then for some reason, you also planned a social activity on Sunday and you had a full day of clients on Yep, that happened. Huh, okay. I don't know if this is humor, but I always say to myself, hey, well, this isn't one of my strong areas, but at least I did it. I do that with cleaning the toilet, by the way. I mean, I just like I could be a perfectionist at cleaning the toilet. I kind of hate it. Same thing with cleaning the shower and stuff like that. But at least I did the thing, or at least I outsourced the thing. I'm not I'm a pretty decent cook, but it kind of becomes boring to me. And so some nights it's like, well, cooking isn't one of my strongest focus areas, but at least I did it. And then watch and listen to humorous content, right? Hopefully this webinar is bringing you a little bit of joy, has a couple laughs, but follow people that make you laugh. Like that is the biggest cure-all for emotions out there. It's really hard to cry when you're laughing unless you're crying laughing, and that's a totally different type of crying. So please, if you take one thing away, bring more humor into your life. So here's the confession, and let's see how I'm doing on time. I'm doing well on time. I think I'm gonna have more time for the Q&A. Here is my confession. You ready for it? Should have had a drum roll. This presentation did not exist until about 2 hours ago. I did not account for the fact that I'd be talking for 30 minutes already. 25 minutes, but on the Zoom for 30 minutes. Yeah, didn't exist. But, and I very rarely try to reach from slides, I trusted my strengths to create when I'd be at my best. When am I at my best? About 90 minutes to 2 hours before I give a presentation. I also resisted the urge to set an artificial deadline. Sure, I can speak, just because. Right? And that's a weakness of mine. And that's a weakness of a lot of ADHDers. I could have set last Wednesday as, oh, my slides are finalized. I didn't do that because these slides would have sucked. This presentation would not have been good. I had a teacher in high school, a public speaking teacher, that required me to write a speech one day to pass me. And she said, well, that was a C speech, but I screwed you up by making you prepare for it. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't prepare. Well, we'll get to the next one. It doesn't mean I didn't prepare because I've been thinking about this topic for weeks, and I've probably been thinking about this for years. I would have to go back and see when I first used hashtag ADHD. This has been on my mind, and I trusted my brain that I could go back in and grab that knowledge. And of course, I had to use a calendar. This would not have come together if I had clients 2 hours ago, or an hour and a half ago, or an hour ago. So I blocked time in my calendar to go, okay, go create the thing. That's my confession. Are you shocked? I don't know. Comment below. Maybe this video sucks to you. Go ahead, comment, hit dislike. That's fine. I won't be offended. Just don't be a meanie about it. Oh, and you remember that perfectionism bit? That's one of the ways that I struggle with ADHD. If I had tried to do this last Wednesday and had it all set, I would have still taken from last Wednesday till now to keep refining it, and it probably wouldn't have turned out well. So that's why I trust my brain and why I go about doing presentations. Now, this is not friendly for conferences that I speak at. And so with this proposal, I'll be putting in a proposal for this, I think. I'm going to have my slides in earlier, and that's okay. I'll just create a deadline of giving this presentation again to you guys and then submit the slides. So with that, it's going to be time for Q&A. I am going to stop the record. Oh, well, that was fun. I'm going to stop the recording. Those that are live on Zoom, I'm going to take us out of focus mode and let you unmute and bring on your cameras and all that. If you're on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed the presentation. And, look forward to seeing you on the next video.